That's pretty cool. Well, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Freedom to Fight. I'm your host, Anura Mathis, and today I have the honor of interviewing Shawn Scribner. He shares his martial arts journey and how he discovered BJJ and how that transformed his life and his family's life. I'm really excited for you to hear this episode and share your comments. Take a listen. Did it say recording on your end?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There we go. And you can have a copy of this if you'd like. So
Sounds
before
good.
I edit it and stuff. So okay, well we can just dive in. I'm trying to make this as casual as possible because I think that's what produces the best conversation. So I will introduce myself. I'm Anura Mathis. I'm in Boulder, Superior, Colorado. My home gym, Limitless, is in Broomfield. And I'm the host of Freedom to Fight. and you're my guest. So introduce yourself and then we'll get started.
All right. Well, yeah, my name's Shawn Scribner, and I live out here in Phoenix, Arizona. East side, actually, it's in Mesa, Arizona, but been here for 10 years now. Before that, I lived up in North Idaho, and I grew up there my whole life.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
Um, well, thank you for doing this. I'm really kind of nervous because I'm so excited, but um, you have just such a unique background. Um, and for someone like me starting, in martial arts in general, it's just I find myself very lucky to have met you. So
Oh, well,
I just want
that
to
was,
pick your
it was kind of a crazy night that when we met. I was like, oh, that's great. I called my wife and I was like, you're not gonna believe the night I just had. Like, not only did I get to train with one of the best people in the country, but I like got on Uber or Lyft and jumped in there and do, and then you're like, oh, I just got done training myself. I was like, it's just such a small world how mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu just like brings people together like that. It's pretty neat.
that. It was so cool. And I was kind of nervous because I don't normally drive at nighttime, but I planned to do some airport rides and you were like 5 minutes into my driving. You were my first person. So um
Yeah, that was
yeah,
cool. I was
I
nervous
I
to even
agree.
get a ride because it's kind of like tucked into like all the industrial buildings. And I was like, man, I'm gonna have a hard time getting a lift out here, I think.
It's a scary area. It's not well lit. It's
Oh, it's pretty dark.
I shouldn't have been driving.
I was like, I don't even know where I was walking to if I had to walk. I was nowhere near the hotel I was staying at.
At least you know jujitsu and a lot of martial arts. So you'll
Yeah.
be fine, on your own. Okay, so we can get started. I'll just kind of go over those questions that I sent to you and we can chat as much as you want outside of this question.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, so tell me about your background. You told me about wrestling and MMA and all of it. So just start from the beginning.
Yeah, so when I was little, like my mom got me into like soccer and baseball and team sport stuff, and I just never really. I did like soccer. I'm not gonna say I didn't like soccer. I did have a good time with that, but so she got me into wrestling when I was 5 years old, and remember I didn't really want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do that, mom, but she didn't really give me a choice, so she was pretty strict and adamant that I was going. And then once I went, I was kind of addicted. I mean, I'm not gonna say kind of addicted. I got really addicted. My poor parents drove me all over the Northwest for every weekend, all fall and winter long. So we
Mm.
traveled all over. I did that through since I was 5 through high school, and then outside of high school, I went to college, and I just didn't really have that drive to be in school anymore. I mean, like most people, I think you're just kind of like, you're burnt out. You don't know what to go to school for. I dropped out like my first semesters because I was kind of wasting my mom's money, wasting time. And I still had that competitive drive and nature in me. So I started training at a local MMA gym up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, called the Lion's Den. It was run by Derek Cleveland and Trevor Prangley. So I got into that and fought for, I've had 10 fights. Well, I had 10 fights then and went with a record of 9-1. Did that for a while. And then I got out of mixed martial arts when I got into the trade I'm in now as a lineman, building power lines. And I took probably about 10 years off and didn't step on a mat at all. I mean, I wouldn't say didn't step on a mat. I'd go jump in the gym here and there, but nothing like committed. And then we got my son into martial arts not too long ago. And it was funny because he was the same as me. We put him into soccer. He did not like it. He put him into baseball. He doesn't like team events. And one day he goes, I want to do martial arts. So we signed him up at like a local wushu academy. And we're sitting outside one day, and I was telling my wife, I was like, I want to compete again. Like I'm not young, but I'm not like old where I can't do anything anymore. So I was like, I still have that drive. So we had this conversation, and literally, I swear cell phones listen to you, because I literally grabbed my phone in between us getting our food, and first popped up was Gracia Barra Jiu Jitsu Academy. It was opening up literally just right down the street from my house. I was like, oh, wow. So I filled out the application, sitting right there at the table. Professor Lucas Norat calls me within like 5 minutes of hitting submit. So I'm sitting at the dinner table, I'm with my wife. She's like, answer it. I was like, all right. So I answered. Well, it turned into like a 30-minute conversation. I felt bad. But I got back in real quick, and I'm addicted. Like my son, he quit the Wushu Academy, jumped into jiu-jitsu, and now he does it every night. So we go Monday through Friday, and then occasionally on Saturdays. So our whole family is all jiu-jitsu right now. My poor wife is
so
washing
awesome.
keys and everything. Every night she's doing laundry, getting everything clean and laid out the next day for us.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Support
So, yeah, martial arts has been going with me pretty strong for quite a while.
Did you mention that your wife, does she train with you, or is she open to
No,
that?
she doesn't. I tried to get her to do it, but she's not that kind of girl. She does so they'll put on like the women's self-defense classes. She'll go do that. But she's got a really bad shoulder that it pops out. It'll dislocate real easy. Like it pops out all the time on her. So she's too nervous to go out there, get it dislocated. But
You need your shoulder.
I do con her into going to the women's self-defense classes all the time. I usually just sign her up and don't tell her. Yeah.
That's kind of how I got started. I signed up for a women's self-defense class, and then got introduced to all of this. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you're wrestling. How long did you do wrestling? Is that 15 years, or is that less time?
Yeah, so from 5 till I was 19. So yeah, 14
Just
years.
about. Yeah.
And then I do like freestyle tournaments here and there outside of that, but I never once I got to college by wrestling, I was fried. I was burnt out of just wrestling, but then I got addicted to MMA, and I would still love to do that, but man, those 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids out there nowadays, they got a lot more energy than I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Rolling with people that are younger than me, it's like, and I'm older than most people there. So yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to feel it. It's nice to be reminded, hey, like keep it in check,
Yeah.
so you can compete.
I remember being younger when I got into MMA. All the older guys were like, you wiry little bugger. And I'm like, I didn't really think of it until now. And now I'm going against like these 19, 20-year-old kids. And I'm like, man, you just don't stop. Like they don't get tired.
right? I mean, and they train. I mean, I guess we train at my gym a lot. So, I mean, there's classes offered pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like that's what you do too with your
Yeah.
son, Monday through Friday and then Saturday sometimes.
Yeah, it's been quite frequently lately. Now that my son, so at first I had to deal with the wife. It was I would go 2 nights a week because we got 3 kids, and so it was getting too much. So I made deals like, yeah, I'll go Tuesdays and Thursdays to the advanced classes, and we'll just call it good. Monday through Wednesday was his other class at Wushu, and I would stay with the kids. Well, then once he once mama forced him to go to a jiu-jitsu class one day, he was instantly hooked. Like it was to the point where he was almost like crying, didn't want to get in the truck. But we're like, no, you're going. Just go
Oh,
one day. That's it. All you got to do one time. Just try it out. So it was like a 15, 20-minute argument and fight to get him in the pickup. I get him there. As soon as we pull in the parking lot, he just calmed down. And then as soon as we walked into the gym, Professor Lucas came up, gave him a hug and talked to him. And he was like, his smile was big. And then we got his gi on and he went out there and rolled. And like that first week, he came home and told mom, he's like, I'm done, mom. I don't want to do wushu anymore. Like, I just want to do jiu-jitsu. And to this day, his smile is ear to ear. It's like the biggest smile I've ever seen on a kid. Like, he has so much fun. It's pretty neat.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's
I know. Thank you for that. Goodness. I felt that. Um, and he's fine.
yeah.
I'm sure that the impact is more powerful because he's so young. And just to, fall in love with something. Um, thank you for that.
Yeah. It's been neat. He had surgery yesterday, so he can't train for like 2 weeks, and he was not happy.
Oh,
Like, he
oh,
was so mad.
I bet. I think that's the most frustrating part of training is when you injure yourself and you can't train. And then it's like, what do you do with the space? But that's part of training and learning how to recover.
Yeah.
'Cause we have, bodies. We have human bodies, and they break, and you have to give time to recover because then what? You just keep exacerbating it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been battling an injury for about 4 months now. I just will not. Every time I feel like it's getting better, I do something and it just re-injures itself. And I'm trying to train as hard as I can because I'm trying to compete at Worlds in December in Anaheim, and I'm trying to like balance the train hard and still let my injury heal itself before I go. It's been a struggle.
Goodness. World sounds like, um, tell me what that competition is.
It's I've never been. I've never been
Okay.
to one. So my professor, I had reached out to him, and I was gonna see if he was gonna go to World Masters in Vegas, and he thought about going, and I was like, man, I'd like to train there, or I'd like to compete at that next year. And he goes, well, why don't you do Worlds in Anaheim with me in December? And at that time, I didn't think I could. I couldn't because I'm white belt, but I get my blue belt here in 2 weeks. So he's like, yeah, you're gonna have your blue belt by then. So like, why don't you compete? And I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. I figured I've got, at least 3-4 years where I can compete as hard as I can, and then after that, I'll see how I'm doing. I mean, I'm 37, so I
Okay.
know there's guys out there that compete a lot longer. And we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna sign up for every tournament I can, and I think Worlds is a pretty big tournament. I got a bunch of friends that live in California that are going to it. I know it's a big event for all those guys, so I'm excited.
I mean, in the name, it sounds like it's if you go from district to
Yeah,
state it sounds like the biggest competition. But
I mean, I think it's
um,
pretty big. I try not to psych myself out like that because I'll sit there and like
yeah,
dwell on something like that, and like I'll basically check myself out. So I try not to look into too much. Like just like when I was doing MMA and I was fighting, like I would never look up my opponents. Like I wouldn't try to watch their fights or watch their previous fight or anything like that. I just went in. I had my game plan, and I would go with it. And if it wasn't working, I would adapt to a different game plan. So I didn't want to look at them and try to psych myself out. Like I've seen a bunch of my friends do that for their fights, and they'll watch a video on them like, oh, he's really good at this, and it's like they've already lost the battle. I know a lot of people do like to watch their fights so they can get some tips and pointers on. But for me, it's never worked that way, because even when I wrestled, I did that at the beginning, and I would like psych myself out like, oh, he's better than me at this, and then at that point, I just put him a level above, and I learned real quick. I got to stop that.
Interesting. That's an important lesson to learn. To not spend your energy doing that, because you're only creating a block. Yeah. So I'm also competing. I'm competing in November.
Nice.
So this is Fight to Win here in Colorado. So it's my first competition. I guess I'm I'm not sure of all the rules. Do you need to be a blue belt to compete?
Is it a local competition?
Yeah, I mean local to me, yeah, but it's state.
Yeah, they probably have. It's probably for white belts too. Most like competitions they'll have white belts all the way up.
Okay.
I think it was just Worlds that they don't do white belts, like Worlds and Worlds Masters. From what I was told, and I didn't see any white belts competing at the last World Masters, so I think it was just blue belts. But like local,
it sounds like
white belts.
It sounds like it's an advanced, that Worlds is an advanced competition anyway, which would be a bit too much for me right now. So I'm 36, so I'm just right there. You know, I did different sports when I was younger. I was a distance runner, but you know, getting to closer to my 40s and stuff, I have to consider. You know, I gotta still take care of my body, and I have an injury from from the last seminar we had, and we have another seminar tomorrow. So, and it's still there. It's taken this long, and it's still not healed. But
it takes longer as we get older. It sucks. Like, remember being younger, like you'd hurt yourself like 2 days, you're fine. Now it's like 2 weeks, still lingering.
But just with that concept of not looking up your fighters before fighting, I think it's like not jumping the gun there too, as far as age, because everybody's on a spectrum. You started training when you were 5 years old, and you know, so that's the core of your life, your athletic life. So your health looks very different than somebody else at 37. And I always try to keep that in mind, so I don't create the block of, oh, well, you're getting too old for this, or you're not really. You know, I feel like I'm doing well in all of the martial arts that I'm training in.
Absolutely. That's what I get frustrated. Like, I got a lot of friends that I've been trying to get to come to the gym, and I was like, oh, I'm too old. Well, you know, some of them are a couple of years older than me, couple like in their early 40s. I was like, you're not, though. I've got a friend that's younger than me, and he's like, I'm too old and hurt. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you know, mid-30s, late 30s, you're still young. You still got a lot left in you. Like, and that's what I had to tell myself when I was sitting at the restaurant that day. I was like, I'm still young enough. I can still do this. Like, I got to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to live with regret as I get to the point where I can't compete, you know? And I was sitting there and go, I should have just got back on the mat and just done it. Like, you only live once, so you got to take advantage of the time you got. 37 is still young. Like, you still got a lot of competing left in it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've watched UFC fights with people that are 37, you know, in that age range, you know, and they have these long careers. So that sound like your career. So
I wish I had their career. You know, fight in the UFC, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Is that I want to ask you about MMA. So I mean, I guess that's just a different tier than UFC. That's just professional MMA, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I was doing like local shows around the Northwest, and I loved MMA. I would, my dream was to go into the UFC. It's just I was starting to get to the point where I needed to make some money, um, and I started getting a family, so I needed to put family first. So I kind of chased my dreams of being a lineman, and more so a career path more than chasing a dream. But I have my regrets. I look back at it. I was good. I was a really good fighter, and I should, I probably should have pushed it a little harder, but I don't have any regrets. So I guess I don't really have any regrets. I made good decisions. I have a beautiful family since the path I took, because I probably wouldn't have met my wife had I stayed fighting. Because my
And
trade brought me here to Phoenix, so that's how I met my wife. So I guess I don't really have any regrets, but you look back at it and you're like, man, I was good. Like I should have just kept going, but it is what it is.
well, and now you get a chance to do that in a different way. So
Absolutely.
I I want to ask what it's like in comparison. So what is it like fighting in MMA, and how does that feel different than jujitsu?
Um, well, you're not getting punched in jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
or kicked.
important to know.
um, honestly, it's I get the same adrenaline rush when I'm out there on the mat in jiu-jitsu as I did when I was fighting. I mean, yeah, you're not like throwing elbows or punches or kicks or anything like that, but you know, it's the same method. You're still trying to go out there, take him down, score points, and submit him. So that's, I mean, you don't get points in MMA, but you're still trying to get him down, well, get him in a submission of some sort if you're not going to try to knock him out. So the method's still there, and the competitive drive that I still have, I still feel all that out of that. It's awesome. And the crazy thing with me, which is weird, like talking to some of my other friends who are professional fighters still, is when I was out there, like I could block all the sound off. And like it could be a packed house screaming people, and I wouldn't hear a soul. It'd be dead quiet. And the only person I could hear would be my coach. And I used to tell my wife this all the time. I was like, it's the weirdest thing. Like it'd be just like a dark room, just dead silent. And I could just hear the voice of my coach. It was the weirdest thing. And I found that out here on the mat. I can block out all the noise. It could be as loud as it could be, and I could not hear a thing out there. I just hear like my professor, like he's talking right here in my ear. It's the weirdest thing. It's been a pretty cool experience. So I've found that same kind of drive with jiu-jitsu lately. I mean, I think that's probably why I agreed so quick to the Worlds. I mean, do I feel like I'm completely ready for it? Probably not, but I'm not going to turn it down. Like wants me to go, I'm going to go. And I know if he's in my corner, I'm pretty confident in myself. So that's where I took that challenge. But I definitely still have the same fire that I did with MMA.
That's the thank you for sharing. Being able to hear your professor in a silent, or crowded room rather, being able to hear his voice. I think that kind of highlights the important relationship you have with your professors or your crew or your sensei.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't think that connection always happens. It's it I think it only happens when people are ready to have that happen, to connect, because that's kind of a vulnerable place to be in, to like fully trust this person to give you instruction. So
I agree. And talking with like some of my other friends, like they don't get that. Like, man, I can't hear anything out there. It's so loud. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing. Like, because I could hear a pin drop out there. It's like my brain just like blocks out all the noise and it just focuses on one person's voice. And I've not always had that with people. Like it's just been with my professor here and then my old coach Derek Cleveland. Like the only voice I could hear is just like me and him, and just be me and him in a room together. It's the weirdest thing. And then talking to people, other people don't have that. So it's kind of crazy to hear that. Because I kind of figured it was everybody. Like everybody had that same.
interesting.
But that's neat. You have that same that same kind of thing going on too.
Well, I'm just noticing that because yes, I do hear my crew or sensei's voice, but I haven't ever competed. I'm uh this is going to be a very new experience. So I wonder if I'll have that connection with him. Hopefully I will.
I'm sure you will. I think it's like you stated earlier, it's kind of like you build that relationship and you found like that good group. It sounds like you found a great group to train with out there, and you're really enjoying it. It was the same for me. Like I had a hard time finding a good gym. I bounced around all these different gyms that were, I'm not saying they're not good gyms. I'm just saying, like, I tried these gyms that people were saying were really good, and I go there and I didn't have that connection. Like there was like, I was like, yeah, it's all right. I had a good all right time tonight. And then when I walked into this place, it was like, it's just the welcoming of everybody. It's like a giant family. So it's been pretty cool. It sounds like that's kind of what you got there. So I bet when you get out there, it's going to be the same way. You'll hear your professor or coach or whoever you got in your corner at that time. Hopefully that's what happens and you'll be able to execute everything perfectly.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm really excited about it. I'm trying to use my nerves to be excited about it rather than stuck.
You'll be nervous. It'll be. I mean, I'm still nervous. I mean, like I said, I wrestled into those 5. Like every match, I'd be nervous until I stepped out on the mat, and then it just kind of goes away. Like it like disappears at that point. Don't let your nerves get to you, because as soon as you step on the mat, it'll go away.
Okay. I'm receptive to any advice you have and competing. I want to ask you, Shawn, if you meditate. That's what came up for me when you were talking about this connection you have with your professor. If you practice meditation.
No, I don't. A really good friend of mine is getting pretty big into that. He's been trying to get me to do it. He's a little more extreme than me. I mean, he literally just got done doing a 100-mile race last weekend up in Chicago. Like 100 miles in 24 hours, you got to run it. Like, dude, you're insane. But he's gotten very spiritual, and he's getting real big into the meditating, and he talked to me about it, and I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
I think it might help me out with some other aspects of my life, because I have a short fuse sometimes.
Well, sure, yeah. I'm sure it'll help with that aspect, but just I think you are meditating without realizing you're meditating.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. It's because I think it's a part of jiu-jitsu as well. It's like finding that place of calm so you can hear just that one message or that one voice. You know how to do that really well. So you're meditating. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. I know jiu-jitsu is definitely, since I've gotten back into it, it's definitely changed my life. I've noticed lately, big time, with not just me, with my family. Like our whole family's gotten. I mean, we've always been a tight family. We're a really tight family, but it's gotten a lot tighter. Like, I mean, my son's into it now. My youngest son's getting ready to get into it. My daughter wants to do it, but she's only 3. So I'm like, you can't do it yet. She wants to put on the pink gi so bad and go out there. But just, I mean, like I said, like the family, my son, I get home, he's ready to go. He's got everything packed and ready. My wife's got it all laid out for us. So, and it's jiu-jitsu from 4 p.m. till I get home at 8:30 after my classes. So it's an all-night deal, and nobody complains. Everybody just literally can't wait for tomorrow. It's been a pretty cool experience lately. Jiu-jitsu's definitely been a huge impact on our lives lately.
It sounds like it bonded you more together, connected you more together.
It definitely has. Not only us, but like with our friends. Like we've gotten some friends that got into it with their kids, and they're all addicted to it now too. Like, and it's brought a whole core of us all real tight together. Like even our professor, he does like a group chat with WhatsApp, and it's all the family. Like the jiu-jitsu community is absolutely amazing. It's like one of the most positive group of people I've ever run across in my life. I mean, you're a prime example. Like the conversations we had on the ride home was like, this is awesome. I called my wife that night and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you're not gonna believe this. And then and I forgot to tell you. So the next day I had my seminar that I had to go to for work. Well, I walked out of our seminar during one of our breaks and I had my shirt on that I had bought at Professor Jefferson's school there. And he goes, one of the guys that was working there at the hotel, he looked at my shirt and he goes, Gracia Barra, he's already training. I was like, oh, in Phoenix. I just was over here for a week. So I trained last night up in, was that the Flatirons?
Yeah.
So I trained there and he goes, oh yeah. He goes, Phoenix? He says, what part? And I go, the name East Mesa. So he goes, oh, you're with Professor Lucas Norat. And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. How did you know this? Oh, he was my roommate when I lived in Arizona. It's just like the whole weekend was just crazy for me. Like how jiu-jitsu brought like all that, like you and then him, and like it was just nuts for me. It was like mind blowing. It was pretty cool.
This is felt on my end as well. Like I went and told my sensei, like I met this person, just like I left class and then I met this person and we had this conversation and I'm gonna try to interview him and maybe he can come in and like I just started wrestling, but that's the newest martial art. So and there's not a ton of people that come to that class on a regular basis. So I get a lot of attention. And so talking to a wrestler and somebody that fought in MMA, like I want to go in this direction as much as I can. So it was just a thing. It was just signs that happened. And so definitely felt on my end. And so I'm glad that I asked you to come on the show because I want other people to know how this has affected your life, and your mental health, your family's mental health.
Yeah, it's been neat. It's I have not regretted from that moment I was sitting at that restaurant that night having that conversation. Just the whole fate of how everything's come through it's been awesome. It's been a lot of joy in my life in I started training January, so last 8 months, 9 months, it's been quite amazing. Wish I would have never quit, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I wish I would have been introduced to this when I was younger. I'm not going to call myself old. I don't like that don't do that framework. When I was less of an age than I am now, I wish that I was introduced to this. But for me, what I wanted to be introduced to when I was younger was dance. And so the crossover for me is learning all of these positions in jiu-jitsu and that helping my dance. So both I've found as far as like trauma science goes, those are both effective in helping to heal trauma, martial arts and dance, movement in your body. And so this was perfect for me to find because I was doing some of this stuff anyway, in my dance. And then to find something that can help protect myself.
Absolutely. That's age right now. Things are getting a little scary out there. So I recommend everybody to learn some kind of martial arts.
I agree. And I think my perspective on men and women, I know that's just separating two genders and there's a whole spectrum. So I'll say men and women and non-binary people. But I think the way that our society looks at that, most of the world looks at that, is that there's one dominating gender and then one like submissive gender. And that's just how it is. And I think that,
though.
Right? I think it just tells a different story. You need both. It needs to be an equal playing field, which to me, the way I look at the world, it is. We're just choosing to look at two halves of a whole. We need to be whole, as a fighter, as an athlete, as a training partner, what have you, because I think that's what builds a strong relationship. That's what um helps these moves to settle in. It's not just technique. It's a dance. It's a flow.
It is. It's crazy. Like watching some of the more experienced guys, some of our black belts, they'll literally just watching them roll and how they transition from one move into the other. Like every move's got three other moves that they can go to. So for every action, there's a reaction. And I've always been told that my whole life, and I never really agreed all the time. I'm like, yeah, whatever, And then I'd started to see it, and then with jiu-jitsu, you really see it. Like for every action, there's a reaction. If not one reaction, there's three reactions. Like it's like how did someone describe this to me the other day? Like a tree. So like every move is like a trunk of a tree, but there's like 5 branches going each way, and there's so many different paths you can go, and that's what's intriguing to me. Is like with jiu-jitsu, it never ends. Like you never stop learning. Like, okay, if he does this, I can do this move, but it's not like that with jiu-jitsu. It's like, all right, if he does this move, I've got 5 other moves I can go from here. Like it's just crazy. Like there's no dead end road in jiu-jitsu. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And the analogy with the tree. There's analogies of trees and like in therapy and psychology. So that'll stick with me. Yeah. The different branches, because and you mentioned black belts. That's black belts are going to know the different branches to use. They're not going to just have the one.
Yeah, they're not like me. I got like just a couple.
I got one.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with the one, right? Yeah. I'm growing. I'm learning.
That's right. We'll get there one day.
Something else came up for me when we were talking about watching black belts roll. Goodness, it's kind of a full thought, but not really. It just made me think of darn it, karma. I don't know how to integrate this back into what we were talking about, but you said the definition of karma. That's why I thought of karma. You said everything has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to have to think on that a bit more so I have a clear thought. But it sounds like it's just like, it just is. Like, it's just, I know that sounds strange, but like 2 people rolling in jiu-jitsu is just like as true as life is. Like, I don't know how to clarify that, but it's just, I don't know. And animals, I've noticed. I have a puppy and I play with my puppy all the time, but she'll do some of the moves.
Yeah.
She'll get out of some of the moves because it's just a natural instinct to, put your legs between someone, to keep and frame. She frames on me all the time.
Yeah. It creates space so they can get out. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu, you look at a lot of things in life and related to jiu-jitsu. Not just like even with the moves, but like how everybody carries themselves. And I can't speak for the people that but I know at all the gyms I've been to out of Gracia Barra, like all the professors, the way they carry themselves and handle different types of people, I would say. I mean, because in jiu-jitsu, you get like all aspects of life coming into that gym. It's a huge community that all comes together, and the professors have to deal with like every individual, and the way they carry themselves, the way they deal with everybody is fascinating. Like, sometimes you got the guys that come in there and they just want to rip people's heads off, and then you got other people who are so timid that they barely even want to step on the mat. And watching how they handle everybody is just, it's awesome. Like for me, I never noticed it when I was younger, and now I'm getting older. Like I've helped out with some of the kids classes, and hats off to those guys, because you've got 50 something little kids out there, 8-year-olds running around that are just full of energy. And I mean, our professor doesn't put up with anything. He's super strict with them. And, some people, I don't know if they can handle their kids getting yelled at, saying, not really screamed at or anything, but, being told, hey, get back in line, stand up straight. But I mean, he doesn't give an inch at all. You listen, and it's crazy, because I don't know how he does it. It's a lot of kids in there, but they carry themselves very well in there, and they deal with everybody like very well. Like it's pretty fascinating. And so it's not just how good they roll and how jiu-jitsu itself is as like fighting wise, martial arts wise, but like even in life wise, how positive they are, how the positive energy they provide, always willing to help no matter what. It's been crazy. Just like my son having surgery yesterday, they all reached out to me yesterday, and they're gonna he can't have any kind of contact to his mouth for a couple of weeks. Like I think I told you, he was born with a cleft lip and cleft palate, so he's been having surgery for that, and they're gonna have him come in. Professor's gonna work with him just specifically with rolling with moves, and then he'll have to sit out for obviously live sparring. But it's the community's been amazing. But like I said, going back to like how people carry themselves in jiu-jitsu, it's been such a positive look on life. So it's not just the moves and the fighting. It's been pretty neat.
Yeah, I would agree. I've met the best people in jiu-jitsu, the best people, and it just reminds me that I really was not going to go down this route at all, especially when I learned, oh, we're going to fight in a cage. That's what we're going to do. And I grew up Buddhist, like not being able to express, aggression in any sense of the way. I mean, being a Black woman, as well, like you can't get angry. You can't, it's not accepted to do that, because then you're the angry Black woman. You're not allowed to express yourself to a certain extent. And so I really was not going to look in this direction at all. And I'm glad that I put that aside, because it was the best choice. There was so much on the other side of it. My sensei, my crew, my professor, I've got all of those people.
Yeah.
They're like mental health workers. It's not just them doing the moves. It's them how they affect the community.
Absolutely.
And they're making a community by like okay violence. Like it's just a safe place to do that, which is so rare.
It is, and it is therapy, like you said. It is a therapy. I mean, if you have a bad day, you can go there. I mean, even if you're not even going to roll that day, but if you're going there, like everybody there is always willing to talk and help you through things in life. But I mean, I don't think there's a better way to release stress or anger or anything that you just need to get off your chest. Like, go ahead, hit the mat, and jiu-jitsu will get that literally. I mean, you're out there for an hour or 2 hours, and your mind is free. Like, you don't have another thought in your world except for out there. It's very therapeutic in my mind, and it sounds like it's kind of the same for you.
Well, it is in my mind as well, and trauma science says that as well. Like that's part of why I pushed to pursuing this, because I knew from my studies that this will help heal trauma. So being a traumatized person going into this, I was looking for something to help me heal, and knowing that it helped a lot of other people. Why not try and see if that'll help me? So, and it's been profound. it's been not only to heal my trauma, but to help me become the person I was supposed to be. Like, definitely being a trauma therapist is important. I'm not I'm not discounting that. But it's like I said it in my last episode. It's like accepting your shadow self. And jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general for me is a catalyst for that. It's like if I didn't, push for this thing that I was really resisting it. Like, I'm not allowed to be violent. I'm not allowed to harm people. That's not what I want to do. I want to help people.
Yeah.
So, if I wouldn't have pushed, I wouldn't be fully me.
Yeah.
So that's and I define myself as a trauma therapist, as my personality too. So to know that honestly, there's so much more to me than that, that it changed my life.
Oh, it definitely does. And the boost of confidence you get in life, I think, from jiu-jitsu is amazing too. Like, I know it's boosted my son's confidence big time. He used to be the shyest little kid ever. And they had parent-teacher conferences, I think it was like a week ago. My wife's going to get mad. She might listen to that stuff. But anyways, it was just recently. And she got to talking to the teacher, and she's like, somehow it got brought up that my son's not a very shy kid. My wife's like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean he's not shy? She's like, he's normally the shyest kid anywhere we go. And the teacher's like, oh no, Kate is not shy at all. And she was telling her she's seen a change ever since we've got him into jiu-jitsu. His ability to like go up and meet people and talk to people is like, his confidence level's gone through the roof. So like it definitely has built him into a more confident kid too. So if I, like you said, if for the therapeutic and confidence, it's definitely jiu-jitsu is very good with dealing with
that. I'm glad that it's helping people of all ages, especially children. I think it's at my gym, at all three of the gyms that I'm a part of, there's kids programs, and goodness, I think it's so healthy for someone to be confident, not for somebody to be cocky, or to be too shy, but to have that middle ground of I'm comfortable with being who I am and handling someone if I need to. I think everybody should have that. I started saying that with the separating genders and dominant and submissive. It really should, I think, for everybody, it should be that I should be able to show up to a fight and be able to fight. It shouldn't be that you're. Yeah, go ahead.
That's what I was saying. With jiu-jitsu, it's basically an even playing field. Like I have rolled with some girls that are way better than me. It's like, wow. It evens it out. It's crazy. Like you said, I think everybody should do it, to be honest with you. I think it should be a requirement in schools. I mean, the discipline and the confidence that it grows for these kids, not teaching them to be little shits. Like, it's sorry if I should not have a cuss on here.
No, please cut. For adults.
I mean, it does. It teaches the kids a lot of confidence, and it teaches them discipline, and doesn't allow them to be cocky or, to be little jerks. I mean, kids these days some of them are straight up jerks. Like, it's like, man, if I talked to an adult the way you talk, my parents would have whooped me. I mean, my dad would have blistered my butt with a belt so fast. And these kids, there's no discipline with a lot of kids nowadays. And part of it is, you get in trouble anymore. But I think with jiu-jitsu, that still is ingrained there. Like, there is a discipline, and hey, you can't act like that. I mean, we've seen it with our kids. My kid is completely down to 180. Don't get me wrong, he's no saint. We still got to talk to him. We've seen a big change, and we credit that a lot to going to Gracie Barra. Is just like I said, a professor doesn't put up with anything. And he told me one day I was at a private class that was on the Saturday morning, and I told him, I was like, man, I don't know how you do it with those kids, like 55 kids. It's just him and Coach Zhao, and sometimes myself or a couple other guys that'll help out, because 55 is a lot of kids for two people. And he's like, Shawn, he goes, it's tough. He goes, but I can't give them 1 inch, because if I give those kids 1 inch, they will take a mile. And I'm like, yeah. And he's firm. It's pretty neat to see.
He's outnumbered too.
What's that?
He's outnumbered too.
Oh, he's way outnumbered. I feel so bad. But they listen. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you still got them talking, and they'll kind of goof off a little bit, and then when he catches them, though, they straighten right back up. But if it's 55 kids, is a lot of kids. But
yeah,
they have, like you said, with the schools, and they have a lot of children's programs. They do the anti-bullying class. They're real big on the anti-bullying.
Yeah,
which is neat to see.
I think it's in the episode of Joe Rogan. He said something about, I think he said it about jiu-jitsu, that we don't like cheaters. Like, we don't like people that are fake. We don't like bullies. It's not an honest fight. It's not, you're not fighting someone with the same intention. So it changes the fight. And people just don't like that. People don't like you to cheat. People don't like you to be an asshole. It's just not accepted, right?
No, it's not.
And that's, I think, true in life, that there are conditions that reinforce being an asshole, but unless you're around other assholes, then it's really not. You really bring the vibe down. So I think that's a positive message, and we want people to be our best selves.
Absolutely. And I think you get that in the jiu-jitsu world. With the places I've been, it's not just like, when I came out there at Professor Jefferson's, I never met him in my entire life, or any of the guys there. First time walking in there, I knew of him because that was my professor's first professor in Brazil. So he was excited for me to go there because I was one of his first students. So it was kind of a cool thing for him. And, but yeah, I went there and I literally got welcomed like a family. Like, it was the coolest thing. I mean, like you said, like, nobody's an asshole in the jiu-jitsu world. At least I haven't run across that yet. Like, everybody I've run across has been super welcoming. Now, did I get my butt kicked? Absolutely. They were kicking the crap out of me, but it was neat. Like, it was a humbling experience, because every time he would teach me, it's like, yeah, I got you in this move. This is how you're going to get out of it. So the next time we start rolling, I'd be trying to look for that, and he'd just give me the different one. I'm like, dude, Rob, what's going on, man? Thought we were training this. But that part was cool. But like I said, it's probably one of the most welcoming, friendly communities I've seen. And like you said, it brings out a good vibe. Like, nobody wants an asshole around you. And I fortunately have not run across that in the jiu-jitsu world where I have been lately. It's the exact opposite. It's family oriented. Everybody's super welcoming and want to help everybody. We need more of that in this world. That's why I think I wish more people would join the jiu-jitsu, and I wish it was a requirement in schools. But I think it would help out a lot of problems.
I think I agree. I think in our schools, but I know I'll probably butcher this in some way, but I'm thinking of like ancient Greece, and just like the way that that people trained and taught Colosseum. Like, I'm just thinking of that time period. That what if that was expanded? What if everybody knew jiu-jitsu? Everybody had this core training, this fitness level, this, mindset, that I think it would elevate everybody,
Oh, I agree. I think it definitely would. I mean, every school you go to's got like football or baseball or anything like that. They just made a requirement like, hey, you got to do a semester of wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Obviously, I think it would help out drastically with everybody's life. I mean, they'd probably get addicted like we are. I mean, it's like, can't wait for I go train again. Like this week, I've taken a little bit off. This week I had an ear infection, and then I'm taking off hunting for 2 weeks, but I'm still going up there to train, which is cool with Gracia Barra. I can go to anyone in the country and go train. Well, they just opened one up back home, so I'm like super stoked about that. So, but I think if everybody could go train, they would be addicted to it, and I think everybody see a huge positive turn in their life. People could just shut off the news for an hour or two, just hit a gym up down the street. I think the positivity that they would see in their life would be increased that much more.
And I think there's definitely a spectrum, because not everybody's training in jiu-jitsu to compete. Some people are just doing it for community, for various reasons. But I think that the way that you're doing it and keeping it a part of your life, even when you're, traveling, I think that it brings a different element. It really just allows you to harness what it is, what's available. So, as far as mental health, you mentioned confidence. We're talking about a family-oriented space. I think that the discipline aspect is really important. I grew up with the values of like having a lot of discipline, having a lot of sacrifice, I guess I can say, like learning how to fast when I was young. Yeah, I'm also looking at the time because I'm not sure if it'll stop in an hour, but we'll see.
Oh.
I
didn't see that. I was looking at seeing if it was my thing was up here flashing at me. I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at the time, so I'm being mindful. I won't keep you too much longer, but I just I think that discipline aspect, especially when you're a really little kid, I think that is it's shaping. It helps to form you into a good person. Just because the aspect of this is a term that everybody uses now, but narcissism. I think that's what's absent, is being able to have the balance that discipline gives. Is you got to have truth. It's got to be, the good and the bad, or whatever, opposites that you give yourself. But without having that, you're not really living in reality. So having discipline in someone's life, I think, grounds you and gives you a clear view of life.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Definitely. So just a lot of aspects of mental health in martial arts and jiu-jitsu. I think I've asked you a few questions about competing, and you're going to be competing. One more question about that is like the space between you said something about I don't feel fully ready or something like that, but I'm going to do it anyway. How do you get ready? How do you fill the space or do you fill the space? What do you do with that?
I just train harder. The reason why I don't think I'm fully is just like that injury keeps bugging me, so it's kind of limited a couple of things that I'm good at, like my takedowns. And hopefully by the end it'll be healed up. I'm praying it'll be healed by then. I mean, I'll be going in, so I'm just getting my blue belt, and I'll be going against guys that are about ready to get their purple belts. So the technique level I'm probably going to be lacking on a little bit. but I've got the good wrestling background to where I go hopefully just get points and hold off. And my cardio, I just got to get my cardio on point. It's been getting better. I mean, professor has been beating me up. He like normally he had a class we do like an hour of live sparring, and usually he'll pick, all right, you're going with so and so, you're going with so and so. Like he picks the groups, and then we go for 7 to 8 minutes. And 6 to 8 minutes. He picks whatever it's going to be per round. But lately, it's just he's like, yeah, you're with me, because he's competing too. So he's trying to get ready as much as he can. But to be fully ready, I mean, I just got to build that confidence back in my head just to go at it. I mean, I'm pretty confident with anything I do. With everything I've done in my past, I think I can handle myself pretty well. But I just got to get this injury go away. I need to be able to shoot those takedowns.
I wonder if I don't know if your perspective is like this, but I wonder if there's a deeper meaning to your injury. If it's like a mental block rather, or an emotional block.
I don't know. I know I did something stupid when I heard it. So it was me being dumb, trying to pick up too much stuff at once.
I see. Okay. Well, there's plenty there to analyze.
Right. No, I should be good to go by then. I feel like every time it gets healed up, like I get closer and closer, and then I'll shoot in on somebody, or it won't even be that. I guess I did shoot in on him. He sprawled on me, and it just tweaked it again. Like, really, God, I just needed to stop. And it'll be weird. Like, I'll be walking, I'll be feeling good. I'll just walking down the hall or something, and I'll be at work. It just twists out on me. And I'm like, what? I didn't even do anything.
Reminding you it's there.
Yeah, it's just like a nagging, just like a thorn in my side. It just won't go away.
I think in terms like that. So everything is fine for me. And I'm sure my injury is on my toe, which is important. If you're on, you need your feet. You need to be able to use that.
I broke my big toe before it was my senior year of wrestling, right before wrestling season. And it affected the way I wrestled all season long. I mean,
I bet.
Yeah, hurting your toes, that limits you to do a lot because you push off your feet. And that's like, I mean, your toes are what you push off of. So when they hurt, it can be a lot of pain.
It's painful now. I'm looking at it. I couldn't bend it for a while. But it wasn't broken. I got x-rays. It's just, I think, ligament tear. But I very painful. I think probably more because I have broken a bone before. I think my block with my toe, I guess, if I'm relating that to an emotional thing, is just claiming that that I'm doing this. I have a podcast. I really am doing this. That I am ready for competition, and that it's not going to be in the frame of what it is for somebody else, because I'm not somebody else. I'm not like someone else either.
You're gonna do good. You're gonna be good, and I bet you when you get out there, I bet you won't even feel your toe. Like it's crazy when you're out there actually competing, like you don't feel that pain until afterwards. Then when you go to walk out, right. Like, oh my God, where did that come from? Like it just all of a sudden clicks back on.
Yeah.
You're going to be good. You're going to do really well out there. Just
Thank you.
Don't let your nerves get you, because I'll tell you right now, I mean, you're going to sit there, you're going to feel nervous, but don't let that affect you, because the moment you step out there and you shake hands and he said, let's go, it just instantly it'll go away. I swear to God, it'll go away. You won't feel it, and all your confidence will be right there for you.
I know you're right. You've done this a lot, and that's what I can focus on. The meditation part, getting my mind right. I can do that real well. So, and hopefully a lot of visualization as well of me competing.
Yep.
So I just want to ask if you have any questions for me. I'm gonna wrap here soon. So, yeah, I just want to leave space if you want to talk about anything else or if you're
Yeah, actually, I
comfortable
was
with
gonna ask
wrapping.
what made you decide jujitsu?
Hmm. I should give you I should give you a real answer. I shouldn't just give you a surface level answer. I'll give it might I might get emotional, which is fine. Um so I took self-defense classes in Texas and I'm a mental health professional. So in my training and like facilities, I've been trained in various ways to protect yourself if you're getting choked or if somebody's pulling your hair, whatever. Um, but I know that it's just ineffective. It's you're setting yourself up because you have this false sense of confidence that I know these moves. I know what to do when someone's choking me. Like, do you really? Have you like practiced somebody choking you and getting
Yeah.
out of that? Like, no, you haven't because it's terrifying, for most people. Um, so I knew that I wasn't in a position to really defend myself. I moved from Texas to Colorado and um, just kind of did that during the beginning of the pandemic. No family,
Right.
like just kind of I take a lot of risk in life, but I made that choice. But then I realized how fragile life was outside of that. So um I've lost a lot of family members since the time that I moved, like a couple of months after I moved, just one after another family member. So I think we're at 8 right now. A ton, yeah. So it that's trauma, and that has shaped um the way that I look at living here, that there's it's fragile, like you have to be prepared for anything. And so losing people and having past experiences in domestic violence and throughout all of my family members really having some sort of experience with that, just knowing that the reality is you're either going to be ready or you're not going to be ready.
Yeah.
So that really pushed me into the self-defense aspect. But my sensei, my crew, Ali, he encouraged me to look into that, to look into the not just the women's self-defense classes, but the classes with all of the members. And it took me just a little bit to realize, okay, I can do this. I'm not going to like be too overwhelmed, but I I'm so glad I had some sort of gut feeling that this probably be a good thing.
Yeah.
Your stomach is in nuts for a reason, but it was the best thing. It was exactly what I needed.
Oh yeah, that's awesome to hear. And it is it. Everybody's gonna face something in their life at one time that you, like you said, you're either gonna be ready or you're not. So, in my opinion, I think you made a good move because now if some, God forbid, anything ever happened, now you can defend yourself, and that person's not gonna realize he's gonna get his ass kicked. Like, it's I think it's been amazing. I'll tell you, like when I got back into it, I like I said, I grew up little doing all that stuff, and I took 10 years off. I went to the first time I went back into Gracie Barra, first day on the mat. I remember leaving there, calling my wife, going, "Oh, good Lord. If I was to get into another street fight, I'd have been in trouble because I was so out of shape." I didn't forget everything, but like, when you haven't done something in 10 years, you know, you're way behind. And
Mhm.
it, I literally remember calling my wife going, "Wow, I would not be able to protect my family very long. I'd have probably a good 45 seconds to a minute in me, and then I was already gasping for air." And so it it definitely does prepare you for life, because not everything's rainbows out there. You're gonna have a hard time, and you want to be prepared the best you can be. And I think jiu-jitsu is going to help with anything in life. I mean, it's like we talked earlier, it brings positive people around you. So you're already eliminated a lot of the negativity out of your life. So you're getting that out of there. So you got the positivity, but it doesn't mean that nothing's ever going to happen to you. So you need to be prepared all the time. So I think that's awesome that you had the courage, and you realized it, and you had the courage to step out there and go, yeah, I'm doing it. Let's go. And now you're going to compete. So that's incredible. I mean, that's a lot of courage. That's a big jump from just going to, yeah, I'm competing, especially for someone who's never done anything like that in their life, not allowed to be in violence or anything. Like, I grew up violence since I was 5, you know?
Right?
So
yeah.
for someone like you who said, you know what, I'm going to join jiu-jitsu, and then here, I don't know how long you've been training, you're like, I'm competing in November. Like, let's do this. Like, that's awesome. I commend you for that. That is great.
Thank you. I walked into first MMA gym in June of 2021. And I took my first like official jiu-jitsu class, so in July of 2021. So
Nice.
yeah, that's my personality though. But are we gonna do this? Like, let's do it.
Let's
Let's
do it.
just
Yeah.
get
Like
to
you
the
said
point.
earlier, life is short. You got to do it now. Like, take advantage of it, because you don't want to live in regret about it. You don't want to come back 10 years down the road going, oh, I wish I would have competed when I got into it. Like, and that's how I'm the same way. I'm like, no, let's do this. Let's go. Like, professor asked me to do worlds. I'm like, let's do it. Am I ready? I don't know. We'll find out. But I want to do it.
Right?
I mean,
It's
you got to
the
try it.
experience. Right. Yeah. I think that's mine. It's just about experiences. It's
Yeah,
just about jumping into it, leaning into it.
absolutely. I mean, you never know unless you try. So, you know, you may come back and think, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done something like that. But you would have never known if you didn't do it. I think you're going to be good. I think you'll be fine. I bet you get up on that podium, you got the gold medal. You're going to be great.
Oh, well, I will visualize that, and I'll be accepting of any outcome, whatever happens. But
Just be
that's how we met, because I took a chance. I just said I was going to drive at nighttime,
yeah.
and I picked you up, and this is how this happened.
I remember I stayed late and helped I stayed late and kind of rolled a little bit and learned a couple of new moves, and it was just me, the professor, and one of his students that he had brought in. Come to find out, just to beat me up. So I stayed late though, and when I walked out, they were getting ready to close shop. I'm like, it is dark as heck out here. I go, I have no idea where I'm at, and it's all like industrial. So I was like, well, let's see if I can get a lift. And then yeah, you picked shows. Like, it's just such a small world. It's crazy. Like I said, I remember calling my wife, going, "You are not gonna believe what just happened." Heck. And then the next day, meeting my professor's roommate in Colorado, like that bolt room, like that. What a small world.
And I did the same thing, just so my crew already knows that I did the same thing. You called your wife, and I ran to him and told him like he's my dad.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, family. I would love to see you in person again if you're ever nearby, and it would be so cool to train with you. It would be really cool for you to show me some wrestling.
And that's it. Thanks so much for joining us today, tuning in. Please
share this episode with your friends and family, and let me know what you thought of it. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at freedom_2_fight. Reach out to me via email. It's my first name, Anura, free@gmail.com. I'd like to hear your feedback. Who should I interview next? Thanks so much for listening and supporting me. Till next time.